Hello everyone! In this video I want to explore a very familiar passage. In fact, it is one of the most quoted and memorized texts of the entire Bible. And because of that, because it is so familiar, often we don't even think what it means. So today I want to explore a passage like this and to find what kind of nuances we can discover when we really spend some time studying it. So let's begin. And this is the text which I want to study today. It is the Lord's Prayer in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 6. And the verse which I want to focus on is verse 11. Give us this day our daily bread. And here we have it in Greek. And the word which I want to focus on is this word epiousion. And the problem of this word that it is difficult to understand what it really means. First of all, it appears only 2 times in the entire Bible and only in the Lord's Prayer. Let us check it. We do the search of this word, and I do the search in the Greek Bible, both the Septuagint, the Greek version of the Old Testament, and the Greek New Testament. So we will search the entire Bible, and we can see that it appears only twice in the Lord's Prayer, in the Matthew's and Luke's Gospels. There is a slight variation between these 2 verses, but in this video we're not going to focus on these variations and study why and what it means, but rather we will focus only on this word epiousion. It is my purpose to find out what it really means, and I will be working with the Matthew's version of this text. So let us take a deeper look. So this is our text again from the Gospel of Matthew chapter 6. Let me translate it again so it stays fresh. Give to us today. Semeron means today or this day or like present moment now. Today, give to us today, ton arton, the bread, our bread, ton epiousion, daily, so literally it will be our daily bread, give to us today. And we will focus on this word epiousion, and as I mentioned, the problem of this word is that it never appears anywhere outside of the Lord's Prayer in the Bible. So how can we find out what it really means if we don't have any other appearances of this word in the Bible? We don't have any other less complicated passages where we could see how it is used by the other biblical writers. So what the scholars did, they went outside of the Bible to see how other writers use this word. And first they searched the Koine period, Koine era, how the writers of the same time period use this word. Unfortunately, they didn't find even one writer who used it in the same time period. Oh no! So they went further back to the classical Greek writers to see whether they used this word. And also they searched in the later writings like 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th centuries. And they found quite a number of appearances of this word in those writings. And of course, classical Greek is different from the Koine Greek. The same word could be used differently. And also the later writers could use the same word differently. So there is a challenge. At the same time, they did a pretty good work. So they compared, they saw how other writers used this word, and they came up with 4 or 5 opinions what this word really means. So in this video, I'll present those 4 or 5 major views of this word, and then we will see which one of them makes a better sense in the Lord's Prayer. So first, let us look at the word epiousion on its own. It consists of 2 parts, of 2 words. First, it is the prefix epi, which is a preposition added to the word, and it means on or over. And then the word ousion is a participle of the word eimi, which means I am or to be. So the participle would be being. The first opinion is that the word epiousion means present. present, and it defines the word day, the present day. So the prayer goes like this: give us today our bread for this present day. For this present day. The weakness of this interpretation is that this emphatic semirand today becomes redundant. Give us our bread for this present day today. It loses its emphatic meaning. Another way to interpret this word is to say that this participle being refers not to the day, but refers to us. So give us today the bread necessary for our being, for our existence. So this bread would sustain us physically to help us to exist. Another variation of this view is to see this bread not as physical bread, but as spiritual bread. Here, Jerome, who translated the Greek scriptures into the Latin, and he made the Vulgate, he translated the word epiousion as supersubstantialis, which literally means above the substance. So many Christian leaders of the early church, they saw here a petition to ask for a spiritual bread which will sustain Christians and help them to live. And they saw here the command to pray about the Eucharist, about this holy bread which represents the body of Christ. The problem with this interpretation is that the teaching about the Eucharist didn't develop in the Christian church until the 2nd, 3rd, even 4th century. So to put this interpretation into the mouth of Jesus and his apostles early in the 1st century wouldn't be correct. In fact, by the time when Jesus said this prayer, he didn't even establish the Last Supper. So this is the least probable interpretation of this word. This view is very similar to the first view. The word epiousion also derives from the infinitive to be, and it also defines the word day, so the day to be. The difference from the first view is that in the first position, the day to be represented the present day, but here the day to be means the following day, the day which is coming. And so the prayer here would be, give us today the tomorrow's bread, the bread which is assigned for tomorrow. And here we have two ways how to understand it. So if this is the timeline, and this is the line where days change, so let's say we are praying here today, this prayer, and this is the bread which is assigned for tomorrow. So we are asking today to receive this bread today. And the next one is, we could pray this prayer when the days change. We can pray the night before or early in the morning when this day just starting or just about to begin. And so we are asking God to provide for us this bread for this upcoming day. In either way, no matter how you understand it, there is still a small tension with what Jesus is going to say later in this chapter. In Matthew 6:34, he says, "Do not be anxious about tomorrow, what to eat and what to drink." And so, if we interpret this as a literal prayer for the physical bread of tomorrow, it goes a little bit against to what Jesus is going to say later. So there is this weakness. So just be aware of that. Now let's look at the last position. This last position is very similar or almost identical to the previous one. The word epiousion is viewed as the following or coming day. The difference is that the bread here is not viewed as the bread from the next 24 hours, the bread which is assigned for the next 24 hours. Instead, here, the following day means the eschatological day of God's kingdom. When God will come and establish his kingdom, he will organize this eschatological banquet, this wedding feast where all the saints will participate. So in this light, this prayer, this petition goes like this: God, give us today to taste the bread of your kingdom. Help us to experience the blessings of the world to come. And so here we have the petition: give us today to experience or to taste the bread of tomorrow, the bread of your kingdom. So now let's review all 4 options. So here we have it, the 4 views, and the first 2 see this word epiousion referring to the present day and to the present bread, and the last 2 refer to the following day, the day which is to come. And so the first one sees the bread for this present day. It's our daily bread. This is how most of the Bibles translate and understand this word. The next one refers to our existence, and here we could interpret the bread as the physical bread, which will sustain us physically, or the spiritual bread of the Eucharist, which will sustain us spiritually. And the third option sees the bread which is assigned for tomorrow. And the last one sees the word epiousion as referring to the eschatological bread of God's kingdom, the bread which God prepared for saints to taste in his kingdom later in the last days. So which one of these 4 options is the right or better suits this petition in the Lord's Prayer is for everyone prayerfully to consider, and it is up to you. What do you see? It will be very interesting, so leave your comment below what you think. As for me, I always viewed it as the option number 1, give us today our daily bread. But as I studied this, I actually inclined to accept the 4th view as the most probable here, what Jesus was actually teaching. So let me explain why I believe the 4th one is the best way to see this word and this verse. So first of all, this story reminds me the story of manna, which was appearing on the morrow. It was appearing the following day in the morning. And manna was a physical bread, but it was also the bread from God. And in the Jewish understanding, manna symbolized the bread of God's kingdom, the bread which God prepared for all his saints in his kingdom, when the Israelites will never go hungry and will never be thirsty. So in a sense, Israelites in the desert had a taste of the future bread of God's kingdom. So here we have the same situation when a Christian could ask God for this heavenly bread. So help me to taste today the bread which you prepared for us in the future. And only in this interpretation, this word semeron, today, fulfills its emphatic mission to emphasize that today, now, I pray for the bread of tomorrow. This is very beautiful. And another reasons why I believe it refers to the eschatological bread, eschatological day of God's kingdom, is that this is the 4th petition in the Lord's Prayer. And the first 3 also refer to the eschatological events. Let's take a look. So these are the first 3 petitions in the Lord's Prayer. The first one is let your name be sanctified. This is the passive aorist right here, and often in the Bible the passive aorist is referred as the divine aorist, so God should do this action, and because it's aorist it should be done once. So many scholars see here that it refers to the day of establishing God's kingdom, when God will vindicate his own name before the entire universe, and so his name will truly become sanctified by all and become holy. So it refers to the eschatological day of judgment and day when God will vindicate his name. The second one is let your kingdom come. Again, this is the aorist. It refers to the day when God will establish his kingdom. The third one, let your will be done. Again, another passive aorist, as in heaven, also on earth. So again, this is the sign that it refers to the same event when your kingdom comes. So all these three petitions, they refer to one and single event. The person asks God to establish his kingdom. And logically, the fourth line in this prayer also refers to the same event. It refers to this eschatological day when God will establish his kingdom. So the person who prays this prayer, he's saying, Lord, today I'm asking you to taste the bread which you prepared for us in your kingdom. In a sense, you are asking, Lord, make sure that today I'm asking you, please bring your kingdom on earth today so I could taste this bread which you prepared for us for your banquet. What a beautiful prayer. So all this convinces me that this line should be interpreted eschatologically. It refers to this future day. Yes, I accept that it still has this element of the physical bread. So you're asking for the physical bread, but yet it could refer to this future bread which is to come, which God prepared for all of his children. In one sense, anytime you eat any food or any bread, symbolically you point to that great feast which God prepared for us. So may God bless you abundantly, and may you and I one day taste the bread which God prepared for us in his kingdom. All the best.